Testament reading comes from chapter 7 of Revelation, verse 9, skipping to 13 through 17. Then one of the elders addressed me, saying, "Who are these robed in white, and where have they come from?" I said to him, "Sir, you are the one that knows." Then he said to me, "These are they who have come out of the great ordeal. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. For this reason they are before the throne of God and worship him day and night within his temple. And the one who is seated on the throne will shelter them. They will hunger no more and thirst no more. The sun will not strike them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd, and he will guide them to springs of the water of life. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes." The word of the Lord.
Graduation weekend, as you may know, for the University of Arizona. Always a very special weekend in this community. And I would imagine that over at the stadium on Friday, would it surprise you to say that probably a few tears were shed, right? Just like I talked about with our children just a few moments ago. I also imagine that those tears were both tears of sadness and tears of joy, right? Do you agree? I remember at my daughter Patty's college graduation in Sarasota, she shed a few tears of sadness in saying goodbye to her dear friends. They were a very, very close group, and she was sad to say goodbye to them, and she cried a little. And then Amy, my wife, shed a few tears of sadness that her daughter was about to, as we say, enter the real world, to make that transition, while I shed tears of joy. And you know why? At realizing that I no longer had to pay tuition. I felt like I had been paroled. So that day ran the emotional gamut for my family. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Now we might expect a parent's tears at a college graduation because in our culture it supposedly represents a paradigm shift in our most significant family relationship. Probably the biggest change that we ever go through, supposedly, between parents and children, or a parent and a child, or a caregiver and a child. Either way, it's a big deal. I do use the word supposedly, however, because sometimes that paradigm shift just doesn't happen, does it? Helicopter parents. You ever heard that phrase before? Helicopter parents. I love that term. That is the contemporary term for mothers or fathers who not only reject or refuse to accept changes in their relationship with their adult children, but hover over them like a helicopter, continuing to be deeply involved in every aspect of their lives. Now, usually, helicopter parents are associated with our education system. The recent college admissions scandal, where parents literally spent millions to buy their children into prestigious universities through cheating and through deception, is the perfect example of the helicopter parent taken to the extreme. Just about every one of those individuals or couples who recently stood before the court said the same thing, almost word for word, when they were asked why they did this. I just wanted what was best for my children. Have you ever said that before if you're a parent? Did your parent ever say that to you? Unfortunately, in the real world, the world we live in, what appears to be the best for someone else can sometimes turn out to be the worst. You know what I mean in this case? All the students of the college scandal that have been found out so far have either been kicked out of their schools or, if they graduated, have had their degrees rescinded. And I'm sure more than a few tears have been shed about that, and I'm also sure there will be a few tears more. According to University of Georgia professor William Mullendorf, the helicopter parent can be directly attributed to the advent of the cell phone and its elder sibling, the smartphone. Actually, younger sibling, because it's newer. Mullendorf calls these phones, I love this, the world's longest umbilical cord, giving a parent the constant means of sustaining the emotional ties with their offspring. Of course, we know that cell phones are just a symptom of the disease. That the disease that many parents experience as their children, quote unquote, leave the nest. And what is that disease? It's fear. And when I say fear, I mean fear not for their children, but for themselves. For themselves. When we feel that we have control in certain roles that we take on, it becomes a way of life that is both fulfilling and is focused. When we are caregivers, be it for our families, a pet, or any that we love, we feel a deep sense of purpose. It also feels, as we all know, a lot better to be dependent upon than to be dependent. I think we'd all agree with that. But we also know that in life, roles change. And those who have provided a need, even all of their lives, can suddenly find themselves needy. And then what do we do? Rosalynn Carter, First Lady to President Jimmy Carter, once said, "There are only 4 kinds of people in the world. Those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver." And as anyone in a helping profession will affirm, losing the role of caregiver, even in some of the worst and most exhausting situations, always leaves a hole in the mind, in the heart, and in the soul. No matter how hard we try to dry the tears of others, we know that there will come a time when we will be the ones crying, or when those we love will shed the kind of tears that we simply cannot dry. When for our loved ones we simply cannot make it better. That was the hardest thing for me to learn when my wife became sick. Because I felt, I had that control, and I thought, wow, I can make her better. And it took me years to accept that that just wasn't going to happen. That Amy's pain wasn't just going to go away because I wanted it to. That her suffering was not just suddenly going to end. Though I prayed for it and still do every day. It's a hard lesson to learn. After this I looked, and there was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, from all tribes and peoples and languages, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, robed in white, with palm branches in their hands. Then one of the elders addressed me, saying, "Who are these, robed in white, and where have they come from?" I said to him, "Sir, you are the one that knows them." Then he said to me, these are they who have come out of the great ordeal. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. In John's time, the great ordeal of which he speaks was the persecution and death of those who believed in Jesus Christ and constituted the church in the Roman Empire. Jesus had given his disciples a great task of caregiving and empowered them with the Holy Spirit to help them both see and heal the needs of others. And they did this, and they did it well. But as the end of the first century approached, many of the Christian churches in the Roman Empire struggled for survival from persecutions that came from many sources. The Roman government, the local authorities, the pagan religions that had strong economic influence in these cities and areas, and sometimes the synagogue leaders. Those who had been charged by Christ as caregivers of each other, as caregivers of their communities, suddenly found themselves in need of care. As they were arrested, imprisoned, shunned by their communities, disowned by their families, and in some cases, executed for their faith in Jesus Christ. For some Christians, tears had become the defining characteristic of their faith. The way they expressed their belief in Christ. And that is why John responds to these fledgling churches with this amazing vision in Revelation. A God-given vision for God's people. We often think of the book of Revelation as a series of weird and frightening images focused on some distant future. And there are some pretty weird things in it, I'll tell you. But John here is writing to believers in all places and for all time when he offers this vision of comfort and assurance in the 7th chapter. John presents God as the divine, eternal, and loving parent. God the Father, God the Mother, God the caregiver. The only parent who has the power to do what all loving parents desire to do for their children. The one who is seated on the throne will shelter them. They will hunger no more and thirst no more. The sun will not strike them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne shall be their shepherd. First words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. For the Lamb at the center of the throne shall be their shepherd, and he will guide them to springs of the water of life. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. John's vision teaches us that he wrote the book of Revelation. He was given this wonderful vision not as a source of judgment or vengeance. This happens in Revelation, but that's not what Revelation is about. Rather, it is given to the church as a means of comfort for everyone within the church that needed care, assurance, and love. And that was and still is everybody. That's why I can say with confidence that John's truth for his time is still a truth for our time. The great Anglican theologian, Dr. John Stott, connects our tears to the tears of the Good Shepherd in his book, which is titled simply Cross. This is what he says. I could never myself believe in God if it were not for the cross. That is the God for me. God laid aside his immunity to pain. God entered our world of flesh and blood and tears and death. God suffered for us. Our sufferings became more manageable in the light of God's sufferings. There is still a question mark against human suffering. But over it, we boldly stamp another mark. The cross that symbolizes divine suffering. Dr. Stott's words remind us that God the Father, God the Mother, God the Divine Parent can and will dry our tears because God's Son, Christ, the Messiah, shed tears with us and shed tears for us. We cannot make the world perfect for those we love. Sorry. We cannot make life free from heartache and failure and tears and death. Like the helicopter parent, we may want what is best for the people we love. We may want what is best for the world. But there is no price we can pay, no service we can perform, no advantage we can offer to make that a reality. Although many have tried. But the price that Christ paid for the sake of love did create a new reality. And it is in that reality that we have hope for our children, hope for our parents, hope for all of our loved ones, even when we can no longer dry their tears. Even when we can no longer make it better. Even when we have tears of our own. This morning, all of us have a holy caregiver who cares for us in a way that we can never care for ourselves. And it is in that hope that we are called by Christ to be caregivers. Not just for our children, or our families, or our neighbors, but for the hearts that we adopt into the family of God. We adopt them because they, like us, are children of God. They all are. We all are. And so we adopt them. We cannot wipe away all tears because life is always finding creative new ways to make more. And it does. But we can live as children of the reign of God, knowing that graduation is coming. A graduation unlike any other. A graduation where no one leaves the nest and everyone comes home. And there will be no more tears except tears of joy. Isn't it wonderful to have that vision from Revelation? And that is in the hope which we live, now and forevermore. Amen.